Much better. Got you loud and clear.
Perfect. Got you loud and clear as well. Glad I fixed it.
Good afternoon from Mission Control in Houston and the International Space Station Flight Control Room. As the orbital sunset passes over the orbital complex, you saw briefly a view of the SpaceX Dragon Endeavour. That will be the ride home a few hours from now for the Crew-11 crew, returning to Earth a few weeks ahead of schedule, but feeling in good shape, as they reported earlier today, working through the pre-departure timeline as they prepared to complete a 167-day mission with a splashdown off the coast of California in the wee hours on Thursday morning. You're looking inside the International Space Station. A variety of crew members are working to complete the final stowage of items inside the Dragon Endeavour. This has been ongoing for the past several hours. The crew has been running a few minutes behind schedule. The current undocking time for Endeavour to begin the trip home for the 4 crew members, the Dragon Commander Zena Cardman of NASA, the pilot Mike Fink of NASA, Mission Specialist number 1, who is Kimiya Yui of the Japan Aerospace Exploration Agency, and Roscosmos cosmonaut Oleg Platonov, who's Mission Specialist number 2. The undocking time of 4:05 p.m. Central Time, 5:05 p.m. Eastern Time, is likely to be pushed back by a few minutes. We do have a 1-hour undocking window available for the crew today to meet their splashdown target off the coast of California. The phasing or the time frame between undocking and splashdown is expected to be about 10.5 hours for the Crew-11 crew. If you recall, back on January 7th, NASA announced it was postponing a planned spacewalk originally scheduled for January 8th. While the team monitored a medical concern with a crew member currently working on board the International Space Station. That crew member at that time and in subsequent days has been and currently is in stable condition. NASA announced the following day its decision to return Crew-11 back to Earth from the International Space Station earlier than originally planned in order to properly monitor the crew member's health on the ground. If you have been following along with us, back on Monday, there was a change of command ceremony that was planned all along, right before Crew-11 had intended to depart the International Space Station, where Mike Fink, the station commander, handed over the keys to the complex to Russian cosmonaut Sergei Kud-Sverchkov, who is the current space station commander and will remain the space station commander until the time frame just before he departs, along with his Soyuz crewmates, Chris Williams of NASA and Roscosmos cosmonaut Sergei Mikheyev. That is expected to occur in the midsummer time frame. And Roscosmos cosmonaut Sergei Mikheyev. So the current undocking time is not known specifically right now. We had expected it to be 4:05 p.m. Central Time, 5:05 p.m. Eastern Time. That will be pushed back, we expect, by a few minutes, but we do expect to be able to undock within the current window. Again, the crew running a few minutes behind schedule based on their late stowage of cargo aboard Dragon, the Endeavour, that this 4-member crew launched in back on August 1st, arriving at the International Space Station back on August 2nd. Today's return of the Crew-11 crew will wrap up a 167-day mission aboard while in orbit, 165 days of which aboard the International Space Station. The crew will have completed 2,672 orbits of the Earth in a mission spanning 70.8 million statute miles. For first-time flyers, Zena Cardman and Oleg Platonov, they are completing their first flight into space of 167 days. Mike Fink is wrapping up his 4th flight into space, and at the time of splashdown early Thursday morning, will have totaled 549 days in space, putting him 4th among all NASA astronauts on the list, 20th on the all-time list for most cumulative days of spaceflight. Kimiya Yui, with 167 days in space on this, his 2nd flight, will have logged 309 days in space. The weather off the coast of California, where Endeavour will be splashing down early Thursday morning, is excellent. The team has been monitoring weather conditions over the past several days, and the last weather briefing that was conducted earlier this morning indicated that we expect pristine conditions off the coast of California for the homecoming of the Crew-11 crew. Splashdown is currently scheduled at 2:41 a.m. Central Time, 3:41 a.m. Eastern Time, which is 12:41 a.m. Pacific Time on Thursday morning. Once again, just to recap, the Crew-11 crew originally had been scheduled to return to Earth in the February 20th time frame. So that return to Earth having been accelerated by about 4 weeks from its original target due to the issue that arose aboard the International Space Station last Wednesday. However, the crew member affected a week ago is in stable condition, has been ever since, and the crew, in fact, reported earlier today that they're all feeling very well and are ready to begin the trip back to Earth, which will span about 10.5 hours to a splashdown off the coast of California and a completion to this mission. That will set the stage for the International Space Station to be occupied by just 3 crew members for a 4-week period, not unprecedented. The commander of the station, Sergei Kud-Sverchkov of Roscosmos, his Russian colleague Sergei Mikheyev, and NASA's Chris Williams will carry the load for about a month until the arrival of the Crew-12 crew that is scheduled to launch in February to begin their own 6-month mission aboard the International Outpost and initially re-up the station population from 3 crew members to 7 crew members. Crew 12 consisting of the commander, Jessica Meir of NASA, along with NASA's Jack Hathaway, who will be the Crew 12 pilot, along with Sophie Adano of the European Space Agency, and Roscosmos cosmonaut Andrei Fedyaev. This view from Hawthorne, California, and the SpaceX Mission Control Center, working in tandem with the flight control team here in Houston. It is the Orbit 2 team of flight controllers on console today here in Houston who are following along with the pre-undocking preparations. Once again, the crew is soon to complete its suit up into their SpaceX launch and entry suits before floating through the hatchway on the zenith port of the Harmony module of the International Space Station, and behind them they'll close the hatch to Dragon Endeavour and begin final preparations for the undocking. A specific undocking time will be finalized once we actually close the hatch to Endeavour a short time from now. Once again, we're running a few minutes behind schedule, but we do expect to be able to undock well within the 1-hour window that's available for Dragon's departure today. And again, the burn plan for all of the departure burns and the rendezvous profile for the phasing to bring Endeavour home for a splashdown off the coast of California will be refined and amended to give us the proper splashdown time that has been set of 2:41 a.m. Central Time, 12:41 a.m. Pacific Time, early Thursday morning. Endeavour is in good shape. All of its systems are ready to support the undocking from the zenith or space-facing port of the Harmony module of the International Space Station. Once the undocking command is issued, several activities will be undertaken, the first of which is the retraction of the umbilical basically a power and data cable that Dragon draws power from the International Space Station during its docked time frame aboard the complex. Then 2 sets of hooks, 6 hooks per gang, will begin to open up. Set 1 first, followed in short order by hook set 2. All 12 hooks will open up, and then the physical separation will be broken between Endeavour and the zenith or space-facing port of the Harmony module of the International Space Station, to which it has been linked for the past 165 days. There will be a series of undocking burns, first 1.5 seconds in duration, then 5 seconds in duration, and then what is called departure burn 0, a 16-second burn. This creates an opening rate between Endeavour and the International Space Station, ultimately enabling it to exit what is called the keep-out sphere, the first of 2 cylindrical boundaries, if you will, in the neighborhood of the International Space Station, followed in short order by the exit of what is called the approach ellipsoid, which I refer to as the neighborhood of the International Space Station. At that point, joint operations will come to a close, and the flight control team here in Houston will hand over exclusive control of Endeavour's flight back to Earth to the SpaceX flight control team in Hawthorne, California.
And catching you up, we're working procedure 2.103, step 2.6.
We copy. Thank you.
Here in Mission Control in Houston, in the bow tie, that is Flight Director Ronak Dave. He is the lead flight director associated with the Crew-11 mission. At the top of your screen is spacecraft communicator Matt Dunne, D-U-N-N-E, for those who will be spelling that out for print purposes. Matt Dunne will be the communicator talking to the Crew-11 crew through undocking and through its exit from the approach ellipsoid that will be coming up a bit later this afternoon. Inside Dragon, some of the crew members already beginning to strap into their seats. We do expect to have views inside Dragon here shortly. But again, the crew is still in the process of completing the stowage of a few cargo items to be brought back to Earth aboard Dragon. Over the past week, the NASA team, the SpaceX team, the international partners have all worked in close concert with one another to facilitate this earlier than planned departure of Crew-11 from the International Space Station. That earlier departure done out of an abundance of caution following the issue that occurred 1 week ago, in which teams monitored a medical concern with one of the crew members living and working aboard the international outpost. That crew member was and continues to be in stable condition. And again, I will reiterate that earlier today, the crew reported that it was feeling great and ready to come home for a splashdown in the early morning hours on Thursday off the coast of California. This is Mission Control Houston. We do expect to receive interior views in the Dragon Endeavour here momentarily. You're looking at a view of NASA's Chris Williams aboard the International Space Station.
Checking. Hey, and Chris, you can temp stow those in node 2 right now. At the end of the day, we'll put them in the docking mechanism accessories kit.
And while spacecraft communicator Matt Dunn talks to Chris Williams inside the International Space Station, our first view inside Dragon.
Copy all, thank you.
A good view of NASA's Mike Fink. To his left is the Dragon commander, Zena Cardman of NASA. Another view from another camera showing Cardman in the foreground. The other crew members who are all suited up now are Kimiya Yui of the Japan Aerospace Exploration Agency and Oleg Platonov of Roscosmos. They are working through pre-departure preparations, running through several checklists that will culminate with the closing of the hatch that will enable us to get a more refined time frame for the actual undocking of Endeavour. Keep in mind that the undocking begins with an undocking command that first retracts the umbilical that attaches Endeavour to International Space Station power and data capability. That follows with the opening of 2 sets of hooks, 6 hooks per set.
Procedure 2.103, step 2.9, Dragon cabin configuration for departure complete.
All right, Zena, SpaceX copies. Dragon cabin configuration for departure is complete. 2.9.
One of the items the crew completed was the swapping out of a lithium hydroxide canister that will enable the scrubbing of carbon dioxide out of the atmosphere within Endeavour during its free flight back to Earth and a splashdown in the wee hours on Thursday morning off the coast of California. Here in Mission Control, the reports are the crew is running just a few minutes behind schedule with their pre-departure preparations. You can see there in the on the right side of your screen, Roscosmos cosmonaut Oleg Platonov, and in the center of your screen, NASA's Mike Fink, who is wrapping up his 4th flight into space today.
Push-to-talk destination is set to station.
We'll be standing by for the actual closing of the hatch to Dragon, and we'll mark that time for you, and we'll be able to provide a more refined time for undocking a short time from now. We will indicate, however, that we will, per our programming plan, go back on the air at 3:45 p.m. Central Time, 4:45 p.m. Eastern Time with our undocking coverage, regardless of any adjustment to that undocking time. This is Mission Control Houston, once again
on the big loop for
looking at views inside the Dragon Endeavour, which is currently mated to the space-facing port of the Harmony module of the International Space Station. In the foreground is Endeavour Commander Zena Cardman. To her right, NASA's Mike Fink.
That's LIO cartridge 2. And at this time, you are go to complete the LIO configuration, IMV teardown and hatch closure per the procedure 2.103. When you're complete, you can execute instructions on hatch closed event details, and then finish chute dawning per 4.010.
Okay, copy. We will be swapping the LIO to cartridge 2. We are go for that configuration, as well as IMV teardown and hatch closure per procedure 2.103. And then we will close out 4.010, completing those actions.
And Zena Cardman acknowledging that call from the core. That's the acronym for the Crew Operations Resource Engineer. Basically the SpaceX communicator in Hawthorne, California, with instructions on several procedures that will precede the actual closing of the hatch to Endeavour that will set the stage for our undocking sometime in the neighborhood right after 4:05 p.m. Central Time, 5:05 p.m. Eastern Time, within a 55-minute time frame after that. As the flight control team here works to recompute our exact undocking time, we would offer to you that the burn plan by SpaceX Ballistics and the flight control team in Hawthorne will be adjusted so that we wind up with the same splashdown time, give or take. In the wee hours of Thursday morning, the current splashdown time scheduled at 2:41 a.m. Central Time, 12:41 a.m. Pacific Time. Once Dragon Endeavour departs the station, there will be a series of firings of the Draco thrusters to create an opening rate between Endeavour and the International Space Station. It will move to a safe distance away from the complex for the deorbit burn that is scheduled at 1:51 a.m. Central Time, 2:51 a.m. Eastern Time Thursday morning. That will be a 13-minute, 15-second retrograde burn, basically a braking maneuver, to slow Endeavour down by about 87.5 meters per second, allowing it to begin the entry back into the Earth's atmosphere.
Entry back for continuing to Dragon hatch closure at 3.6 alpha.
All right, SpaceX copies. We're with you at 3.6 alpha.
And we're complete 3.6 alpha, 3.7. We'll wait for ISS side 3.6 Bravo. We will be ready when you are for closing the Dragon hatch.
All right, we copy that. Xena, waiting on 3.6 Bravo.
3.6 Bravo is now complete. So we are closing the Dragon hatch for the detail.
SpaceX copies.
We are nearing the point of hatch closure on the Dragon Endeavour. Just a few more steps required by the crew. They're all suited up inside the vehicle, ready to begin about a 10.5-hour journey following undocking to a splashdown at 2:41 a.m. Central Time, 12:41 a.m. Pacific Time off the coast of California on Thursday morning.
SpaceX Dragon hatch is closed with the hatch indicator on the red.
SpaceX copies, hatch closed, and the indicator is verified.
And Xena Cardman confirming that Dragon's hatch is closed at 2:29 p.m. Central Time, 3:29 p.m. Eastern Time. So the first step on the road home for the Crew-11 crew now complete, as we stand by for other pre-departure preparations to be undertaken prior to the undocking of Endeavour from the space-facing port of the Harmony module. Again, hatch closure for Endeavour marked at 2:29 p.m. Central, 3:29 p.m. Eastern Time.
SpaceX Dragon big boost PPRD ISO valve in location 1 is verified open. Dragon interior is secure, waiting for your go to procedures.
SpaceX copies all, Xena, and report for PPRV. Good news, your go to step into procedures per the event details. We'll look for completing 4.010 for suit donning and report when complete.
So, section 4 of 4.010 will complete.
Houston, station on 2. We're complete with our sides of step 3. Do you need those photos downloaded? like now, or should we just proceed with step 4?
Checking. And Chris, we'll take the photos when we get them whenever, so we're ready for step 4. No rush.
NASA's Chris Williams reporting closeout photos prior to Dragon's upcoming departure. We're in the process of completing the refinement of an undocking time, but we only expect it to be just a few minutes behind the original plan. In this view inside Dragon Endeavour, in the foreground is Roscosmos cosmonaut Oleg Platonov, wrapping up his first flight into space. Across the spectrum of this view is the pilot of Endeavour, Mike Fink of NASA. To his left, Zena Cardman, the commander of the vehicle. And just out of the field of view is Kimiya Yui of the Japan Aerospace Exploration Agency.
Just
Station and Dragon, this is Houston on the big loop for new undock time. We caught up on some of our time. New undock is 22:15. That is 2215. How copy?
a 2215 for our new updated undock time.
That's good readback.
And Houston's spacecraft communicator, Matt Dunn, reporting to Endeavour Commander Zena Cardman that our new updated undocking time, the undocking command itself that triggers the umbilical retraction and the opening of the hooks is going to be at 4:15 p.m. Central Time, 5:15 p.m. Eastern Time, but the actual physical separation that we mark undocking to will be 5 minutes after that. So we expect physical separation of Endeavour from the station at 4:20 p.m. Central Time, 5:20 p.m. Eastern Time.
Ready to copy.
I can report that the control of cabin air temperature via 4.080 is now allowed until pre-chill. Note that the hex is currently configured for maximum cooling.
Copy, thanks. We've got 4.080 as an option for temperature adjustment.
This is Mission Control Houston. Once again, the view inside the Dragon Endeavour as the International Space Station flies smoothly on 260 statute miles above the Earth. The station is currently tracking from northwest to southeast across the west coast of Australia in an orbit inclined 51.6 degrees to either side of the equator. In the foreground is Endeavour Commander Zena Cardman. To her right, pilot Mike Fink. The two NASA astronauts joined by Roscosmos cosmonaut Oleg Platonov and Kimi Aoi of the Japan Aerospace Exploration Agency. The four crew members soon to begin the journey from the station back to Earth, about a 10.5-hour journey that will result in a splashdown off the coast of California in the early morning hours on Thursday. Splashdown planned for 2:41 a.m. Central Time, 12:41 a.m. Pacific Time.
103, moving on to 4.7 now.
Copy. Moving on to step 4.7. We're with you.
The Crew-11 crew departing a few weeks ahead of schedule to complete a mission of 167 days in duration, 165 days of which will have been aboard the station, 2,672 orbits of the Earth in a mission that will have spanned 70.8 million statute miles. Cardman and Platonov, wrapping up their first flights respectively, will have logged 167 days in space.
4.011, but hold in section 1.
Activating 4.011, but holding in section 1.
The core, or the crew operations resource engineer at SpaceX Mission Control in Hawthorne, California, now working through their timelines. The next step will be leak checks for the four crew members on their launch and entry suits. Cardman and Platonov will have logged 167 days in space at the completion of their first flight. Mike Fink, with this mission, wrapping up his fourth flight into space, and a total of 549 days in space, good for fourth among all NASA astronauts and 20th on the all-time list for aggregate days in space. Kimi Aoi, in the completion of his second flight into space, will have totaled 309 days off the planet.
Hey, Zena, you are go to complete Section 1 suit leak check preparations. We are still performing some final reconfigurations on the ground before we complete Section 2, but you are go for Section 1.
We go for section 1 only. We'll hold before section 2.
Throughout the course of the day today, all of the departure preparations have gone smoothly. Again, the crew reported earlier today that it was feeling in great shape, the Crew-11 crew, ready to come home to wrap up their mission, albeit a few weeks ahead of schedule. They completed the final stowage of cargo aboard Endeavour, and just a few minutes ago, at 2:29 p.m. Central Time, 3:29 p.m. Eastern Time, closed the hatch to Endeavour, leaving behind on the International Space Station the newly minted station commander Sergei Kud-Sverchkov of Roscosmos, along with his Roscosmos colleague Sergei Mikheyev and NASA's Chris Williams, who will be a three-man crew for the next 4 weeks until the arrival next month of the Crew-12 crew.
SpaceX Dragon Big Loop, step 1.8 pair is complete. We are pausing at 1.9.
SpaceX copies on the Big Loop. And that's good timing. Ground has verified system reconfigurations for hatch closure are complete and nominal. You are go to proceed to section 2. Report when ready to pressurize.
Copy, go for section 2 and Voici.
And the Corps, the Crew Operations Resource Engineer in Hawthorne, California, giving the crew the go-ahead to begin suit pressurization for leak checks on their launch and entry suits. This part of the routine series of procedures that will lead to the new undocking time that is marked at physical separation, the new undocking time of 4:20 p.m. Central Time, 5:20 p.m. Eastern Time.
SpaceX Dragon, step 2.2, ready to pressurize.
SpaceX copies. You are go for 2.3. Initiate suit leak check.
Copy, go for 2.3.
And the report is the suits are being pressurized for the 4 crew members aboard Endeavour. Again, part of the routine leak check activities that will ensure that those suits are airtight and ready to support the undocking of Endeavour from the International Space Station. We're about 90 minutes away from the undocking command that will begin the process of retracting the umbilical that has provided power to Dragon during its docked stay aboard the International Space Station. That will be followed by the opening of 2 sets of hooks, 12 hooks in all, that will break the physical separation between Dragon and the zenith or space-facing port of the International Space Station, allowing the beginning of several burns of the Draco thrusters to create an opening rate for Dragon as it drifts away from the international outpost. The deorbit burn that will begin Endeavour's trip home out of low Earth orbit is scheduled at 1:51 a.m. Central Time, 2:51 a.m. Eastern Time Thursday morning. That will be a 13-minute, 15-second braking maneuver to slow Endeavour down by 87.5 meters per second, allowing it to drop out of orbit for its high-speed entry back into the Earth's atmosphere.
Houston, station on 2, we're complete in step 4 of 2.103, moving on to step 5.
Copy all, we're with you in step 5.
SpaceX Dragon, step 2.5, nominal suit leak check.
SpaceX copies on the Big Loop. We concur 4 nominal leak checks. Dragon, SpaceX, This is a comm check on Dragon to ground. I do see that Mike has his push-to-talk set to ground, if he can respond.
SpaceX Dragon, C3 speaking. Howdy. Clear.
All right, howdy C3, loud and clear as well. Good Dragon to ground comm check.
This is Mission Control Houston. With the successful completion of the leak checks on the 4 crew members for Crew-11 aboard the Dragon Endeavour, 4 good suits reported and confirmed by the SpaceX engineers at their mission control room in Hawthorne, California. So just a quick recap, the crew loaded all of the cargo aboard Endeavour that will be brought back to Earth for a splashdown in the wee hours Thursday morning off the coast of California. They closed the hatch between the station and Dragon at 2:29 p.m. Central Time, 3:29 p.m. Eastern Time. All of this pointing towards the undocking of Dragon from the space-facing port of the Harmony module of the International Space Station. The updated undocking time is now scheduled at 4:20 p.m. Central, 5:20 p.m. Eastern Time, leading to a splashdown early Thursday morning off the coast of California at 2:41 a.m. Central, 12:41 a.m. Pacific Time. There's a view of the Dragon Endeavour with the 4 crew members in good shape, all suited up, ready to begin the journey home to wrap up 167 days in space. We will be back within the hour for the undocking coverage, in which we'll be joined by Hawthorne, California, and SpaceX. For all of that activity, be sure to tune us back in at 3:45 p.m. Central, 4:45 p.m. Eastern Time for undocking of Endeavour from the International Space Station to begin the journey back to Earth. For now, we'll wrap up our hatch closure coverage. This is Mission Control Houston.